Welcome to another edition of the Chairman's Report with the chair of the Plainville Select Board, Brian Kelly, and are you officially a town manager yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. Still the town administrator, Brian Noble. Very important because this program airs for a number of weeks. We are in the North TV studio on Friday, February 27th. A week ago today, we were thinking, geez, how much snow will we really get? Well, the answer, after the fact, we know what the answer is, and it was a ton of snow. Gentlemen, let's begin personally, Brian Kelly. What was it like dealing with? I know your snowblower broke.
Oh yeah, I was telling you before the program, yeah. My John Deere of almost 15 years finally gave out on me the day before the snow started. So I had a very helpful neighbor with a Honda who was able to come over and help me out. So yeah, even though I had a plow guy lined up and there was so much snow that he got about 10, 15 feet into my driveway and got stuck. And so the snowblower was the only way to get out. It was amazing. We had like 4-foot drifts. Yeah, I think it's the most snow we've gotten around here in 50 years.
50 years.
Something like that.
We exceeded the blizzard of 78 in accumulation.
It's incredible.
Wild.
Yeah. Incredible. Brian Noble, were you out there with the snowblower?
Indeed.
You were?
Absolutely. Yes. All hands on deck when the weather is this bad. And the most important thing to please remember is it's a 50-year storm.
Yeah.
And it's not like we're getting these, and we're not even really used to handling them. But if you think about it, the blizzard of 78, 50 years ago, who's alive that really remembers or participated or even plowed in 78? So this is an uncharted territory for some of our DPWs who've never had to deal with such a volume of snow.
And I think one of the challenges was the fact that you still had snow which had hardened from the first storm that came through. Then you had this on top of it. You talk about plowing. If you look at our parking lot here at North TV,
right.
You know what I'm talking about. You can only plow it for so long because it can only go so high.
That's right.
There's no place to put it.
That's right. Yeah, it was shocking just to pull in the studio today for this broadcast, just to see the volume of snow still there, and where the heck am I going to park here as I pulled in off the street. Wild.
Take us through the town's preparations in advance of that storm and any other storm, and what happened once the storm hit, and what's happening and probably still happening in removing it. Well, I'll start with you, Mr. Noble.
Sure. Usually the day of a storm, we have a start crew that comes in and does pre-treatment. And
Is
then
that the brine they put down? Or?
North Attleboro is doing the brine.
Okay.
We're watching very closely. Brine can only be applied in certain circumstances at certain temperatures, so it's not the be-all and end-all, but we're always looking for something that's less expensive than buying salt.
Yes.
And less corrosive to our cars. We pre-treat with salt. We no longer put sand down because that creates a problem for the drainage system, and it has to be taken out. And it costs us money to get rid of it because it's then a hazardous waste. So now all we do is pre-salt. So we start with a skeleton crew, we pre-salt, and then we move to full mobilization, and we bring in everybody in the town that has a CDL and is capable of plowing. We bring them in, and then we bring the contractors in as well. The town trucks have plows and salters on them, but most of our contractors, as good as they are, aren't interested in putting salters on the back of the truck because it shortens the life of the truck.
I know there was a heavy demand for private contractors to plow in pretty much every community. Did you end up getting the number of contract laborers you needed?
Generally speaking, yes. We have 3 very good contractors that bid every year and take the duty. And sometimes that's good for them, and sometimes it's not, because we get a year with no snow or not many call-outs, and they've ramped up and stocked up to do it, or got employees that are counting on the overtime, and we don't call them. And so over the drier years that we've had, we've lost people who are interested in coming in as a contractor. But we've been able to maintain the 3 best, and they come in quite regularly, and we count on them. This time, of course, we pressed into service not only our 3 contractors, but in the subsequent nights when I could get other contractors come in and help us, remove snow, not just push it away or push it around, but remove it. And then we took it over to the DPW yard where it will eventually melt.
So the prep work was done when the storm hit. I take it you did not drive to Plainville Town Hall on Monday?
Why not?
Because if you did, I've got to check.
I consider myself essential, so, you know. But the direct answer to the question is the storm came down so fast. We were at one point measuring 3 inches an hour. And I find it somewhat ironic because you look at a Facebook post one person was claiming, well, you know, I snowblowed my driveway, I turned around and it needed to be done again. But boy, the town's done a terrible job keeping my street clear. You know?
Same problem.
Same problem. We concentrated on the main access roads of the town for emergency access. At one point, we were literally dispatching a fire engine or an ambulance with a snowplow to be sure that the emergency vehicle could get to the residents. This was organized by the fire department, manned by the fire department, and we unfortunately had to use it several times.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Were you two in communication during the storm at all?
We were. I think the biggest takeaway is that we both need to go for our CDLs so that we can, and we need a couple more plows in town so that we can be activated if we ever get a storm like this again. You know, I was just thinking back to your original question about preparation, and I go back years from my time on the Finance Committee when the snow and ice budget was zero in Plainville because we didn't have any money to put in that bucket, and it was one of the only accounts we could deficit spend on an annual basis. And so from my perspective, preparation begins just not even before the storm, but years before, where now we put almost $300,000 in that account to be ready to have apparatus, to have people, to have stuff ready to go for a storm, right? So we
start the season with a deficit.
Exactly. So there's money already allocated for an event like this. And just thinking through how quickly it came down, how we were able to get more contractors in to get it moved, how quickly that snow was coming down. One thing that I noticed is, to Mr. Noble's point, we were able to have the plow come through, but they could only really keep one pass. So a lot of these two-lane secondary or even just neighborhood type roads had only one pass through them because that's all the time that they could spend on those roads to get back to the main road to keep that clear. Within, I would say, 24 hours after the storm, everything was cleared back to 2 lanes. So I thought that was pretty remarkable given the volume of snow that we had. And of course, everyone from the state of emergency was supposed to be off the roads for those 24 hours anyway. Yeah, it was kind of scary seeing how thin the road was, how much snow there was there. I'm thinking they're going to need a dump truck with a plow to come through this, but it was able to get back cleared within a couple days.
On my street sometime during a non-blizzard, I'll see one plow go by, followed by another, followed by a third. This storm, I only saw one every time. They did not have the luxury of doing that.
Correct.
Now that it's over, the plowing is done, Brian. What about removal? I mean, you saw our parking lot.
Yes.
We don't have DPW trucks to haul snow away, but how much of that is happening around town?
So we are running 24 hours right now, and we bring the contractors in with our crew. We split our crew, so we are staffed during the day, and we're doing pushback with the lesser trucks. At night, we will go in where we're literally picking up the piles of snow and hauling it away. And we've done downtown, where the bookstore is, all the way up to the post office. It was getting to the point you couldn't park. Mm-hmm. So we cleared that, and we have continued to do back neighborhoods where you couldn't see to get out of the street, or you were taking your life in your hands to look over the snowbank. That has been very, very fortuitous to get that done at night when there's less traffic. We had a unique problem over at the intersection of 106 and 152. The volume of snow was so much and so heavy, it kept messing up the light cycles.
The weights in the road.
So they thought there was a car
there. And it was screwing up the cycle of the lights. So we had to have the company or the piece of equipment come in, I think like midnight or something, when there was no one in the intersection to move it. And that same piece of equipment I passed today on the way here was clearing, just to Mr. Noble's point, those big piles of snow at the intersection so you don't have to look around. It's kind of taking the corners off on 106 right now.
Now, Route 1 is maintained by the state?
It is.
How did the state do compared to the town?
I think our treatment, let's say if you compare Route 1A to Route 1, I think we did a better job. I'm very proud of our people in the DPW and our contractors because I think in the quality race, we win. However, the state's responsible for a heck of a lot more, and they're not necessarily really interested in perfection on Route 1, just safety.
Mm-hmm. You should pass along to your DPW director. My wife went into work Wednesday morning. She works in Franklin, so she drives through Attleboro, North Attleboro and Plainville. When she got to Plainville, she said, "I'm in Plainville, best road yet."
All right.
So far. That was Wednesday morning. So.
Awesome. Pass that along.
Now the big question. You budgeted $300,000. Good news is you can deficit spend. Any idea what this storm will cost the town of Plainville?
Well, got to figure that when you see snow out, it's very pretty, but now I only see $1,200 an hour.
Oh.
So we're looking at a storm that's 5 digits. This will be a $100,000 storm when we're done.
Well, you think about it, that's almost $30,000 a day if they're working 24 hours.
Correct.
My goodness. Will that be paid out of next year's free cash? How does that work?
It's going to be paid out of free, what we're already in deficit now. As of when we started the storm, we only had $6,000 left. So we're in deficit the minute we started plowing, essentially. And so that will be taken out of, at town meeting, it will be taken care of from free cash that's been certified last October.
Hope we don't have many more winters like this.
I know, and that's the thing, is that in the past, this money that we put into that account has been either been just about right or more than enough to get through. And a lot of the issues that we're having now, whether it's being able to see over those corners like we talked about because of the volume of snow, or clearing of the sidewalks, clearing of mailboxes, those are problems that in the last few years haven't really existed because the snow comes down. And then the next day the sun comes out and half that snow's gone already just from Mother Nature. So you didn't have to have such an effort to go through and do this extra removal. And it brought up some good questions because in talking with folks at the schools and concerned parents and people at the town, clearing of sidewalks is obviously a secondary thing to getting the main road in people's neighborhoods cleared, right, with the group of people that you've got working on it. But I think we just want to have a more thoughtful approach as to who's responsible for this, what kind of extra budget do we have for this, if school is going to start before the sidewalks near the schools are cleared, what is the plan? And it was nice to hear this time that the bus company we work with, Holmes, was able to pick up at a couple of special bus stops the walkers, the kids that would normally walk within a mile of school. There were special bus stops set up so that the buses would stop to get them. Because the last thing we want, obviously, is a kid walking on the road at rush hour. And so, given the equipment that we have and the manpower that we've got to clear those sidewalks, that's something that we'll be talking about at future town meetings, where it was already in the plan to bring in some of these, I guess they're Bobcats with snowblower attachments to the front, so you could use the Bobcat for other things through the year, but then it could be activated in a snowstorm with this snowblower for the sidewalks. Because the equipment we've got was really old. I think there's 2, only one of them was working, it kept breaking.
We'd only been using one for a long time because the original one, which was 27 years old and bought used at that time, just was unreliable. It'd go 10 feet and break down again, so they stopped repairing
Sounds like
it.
my snowblower.
Yeah, and put their emphasis on the one piece we did have, but it's 22 years old and also was bought used. So we got to come a little bit more adaptability. Today, if you want to buy a snowblower for sidewalks, it's $190,000.
Wow.
And the problem I have with that is I need something that's more versatile for our small town and our small budget. I can't dedicate $200,000 to just a sidewalk plow and not use it, or only use it for a few times in the winter, this being the exception. So our assistant director had recommended picking up another Bobcat and putting the attachment on that's a blower. And hopefully that can be multiple purposes. So it's on the capital budget for this time around.
Final question about the storm. You mentioned heading into the storm, you had $6,000 left out of that $300,000. You'll use free cash that was certified as part of the audit back in the fall to offset the difference. I would think, however, that may impact the amount of free cash you have at the end of this fiscal year?
No, it'll decrease the amount of free cash we have available
A
at this
decrease.
town
Right,
meeting.
at the
Yeah.
town meeting.
Okay.
yeah.
So
But-
it's not next year's free cash, it's this year's free cash that will be affected because we'll commit that
Right.
to paying the
Nice
deficit
of you to
back.
donate it like that.
Yes.
Allocate.
But that means I have less money available for capital needs.
Yeah.
School maintenance, road maintenance. That's my concern, because you're stealing from Peter to pay Paul.
So it's not impacting, the free cash you're using from last fiscal year isn't impacting the operational budget if you use it for the more
Correct.
capital and,
Correct. The other way you can do is you can make it up on the tax levy, but what happens then, it just reduces the money that goes into next year's budget. So it comes down, you can only spend it once, and you can take it from either budget that you want. I'd rather do it so I don't have to pile year over year over year.
Speaking of budgets, we're pretty much in March right now. New fiscal year begins on July 1st. Excuse me. Where is the town in the budget process right now, Brian?
Yeah, the Finance Committee's hard at work going through everything with department heads right now. And what's the meeting we've got set up for them to finally do the readout in March?
It's in March. I haven't confirmed that date yet, because we're still moving pieces. We had scheduled a meeting with the schools on next Wednesday. That's also the night that Tri-County's doing their project, so consequently, we had to move it around. So Tuesday night, we'll hear from all three school districts.
So it would be Tuesday, March 4th?
Yeah, that's correct. Yes, and we'll hear from all three. The problem is that which is affecting our homeowners and our residents, it's affecting the town. The inflation, the cost of everything, we're affected equally as homeowners are, and as our taxpayers are. And we don't want to waste any money either, especially it's sacred trust that we have with taxpayers' money. It must be spent wisely and frugally. But the increases that the schools are coming in with for education, which must be paid for special education, instructional aid, teachers, the increase from KP is about 600,000. While our own Plainville Public Schools is looking for $500,000. Our total, that's obviously 1.1 million right there, but our total new growth, Proposition 2.5, is only 1.2 million. So we're trying to figure out how we balance that budget with 2 units of our budget taking most of it.
When does the new Tri-County start impacting the budget and property taxes for
Already,
residents?
last year it started, and this year it's not the full 1.2 million, it's at 987 or something in that neighborhood, but it's already begun to play.
Plainville, are they number 3 as far as enrollment? at
We
Tri-County?
used to be, we just got passed by Walpole by 2 kids.
Well, that's good, isn't it?
So, yeah, I'm actually thrilled.
So it's a smaller percentage.
Yeah, well, it didn't really make much difference, but we'll take it. And I enjoyed teasing the other town manager that now you can have number 3 and pick up the cost.
Yeah, that's one time when you don't want to be number 1. Just ask Mike Borg about that, that's for
bet.
sure. Let's see. First Monday in April is that the 6th this year? April 6th?
I believe it is. I'd have to look. I
Is
don't
the
know.
Plainville town
Town
election.
election.
I'm working on setting up a debate for the contested races, having all the candidates in studio. 3 contested races this year? Is
I
that
believe
right?
so. Select Board, KP School Committee, and
Planning board.
Planning Board.
Yeah.
3 people running for 1 3-year seat on the select board. I know some communities, Attleboro is among them, they'll have a preliminary election. That's not the case in
Winner take
Plainville?
all.
Yep.
I'll call him back. So that's not the case in Plainville, thank God, because that would be the cost of another election.
Correct. Yeah.
So 3 people running for the 1 seat. That's Maggie Holmes' seat. She's not running for
Maggie Clark.
Maggie Clark, I'm sorry. She's not running for re-election.
Surprisingly, yeah, not seeking re-election.
3 people for that race. King Philip School Committee. This one always interests me. There's, some of the races you think you would have, you don't. But King Philip School Committee, wouldn't it sound like that appealing of a position, but what do you have, 2 people running for that, I believe,
Yep, to
right?
represent Plainville, yeah.
And then planning board is
1 contested seat.
1 contested seat and 2 people?
I
or
believe 2 at this
2
point.
people running. Going into an election like this, it must be nice not having your name on the ballot again. You would be 2027 before
Yep.
you're up for re-election. I won't ask you if you're running for re-election yet. Jeff Johnson would be next year.
Next year.
2027, so it's Maggie's seat up for this year. Among the 3 candidates, I believe Stan is the only one who served on the board in the past. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so, right?
Yeah, Stan is
Stan
served on the board previously. Maggie had defeated him for election.
Last time, yeah.
Due in large part to what he said during the debate. When
He
I asked
endorsed
him
her.
to say something, I ended the debate by saying, ask each candidate to say something nice about the other candidate. And Stan basically endorsed Maggie.
Yes,
and
he did.
everybody
It was the most polite debate I've ever seen in my life. He should have been her campaign manager, I think, yeah.
But we need more of that in Washington, that's for sure.
And then we have a member of the school committee, right now the chairman of the school committee, Steve Albert, running. And we have a member of the housing authority, Andrew LaBerge, running.
Can you be on the school committee and the town council at the same time? What is the?
At the moment, you can.
You can.
Until the legislature passes the home rule petition.
When he
which
becomes a
changes-
town manager.
And then I become a town manager, but then they can only serve on 1 elected
Right.
position.
And that's the same situation where we've got someone on planning board currently who's running for select board currently. If they're successful and that home rule petition passes, we've got a problem here. They've got to pick one.
Okay. What I find interesting is last year there were no contested races. This year there's the 3. Any reason why? People were afraid to run against Brian Kelly.
Yeah, that's what I hear. I don't know what that's all about, but I don't know. I think it just comes down to what's going on at the moment, what's got people, riled up. If things seem to be going smoothly, then they don't feel a call to action. If they feel that something has gone sideways or they've had a bad experience and they want to get involved. I mean, that's how I got involved in this stuff to begin with. I didn't like how the budget was going, so I put my hat in the ring for the finance committee, got on that. Didn't like how the select board was going, put my hat in the ring, got on that. And I've been successful in getting reelected a couple of times, which has been fabulous, and I love representing the people of Plainville. It just depends on, I think, the situation and the people involved, right? And part of it is, I don't know if you've got to have a screw loose to get into this or what, but you've also need the right kind of people that are going to take time up out of their lives to go and volunteer essentially for these positions, right? Many of them are unpaid. So it takes a certain kind of person to care about the town enough to want to do this to begin with, and then they've got to be motivated. So a lot of times, right, we've got these 3 contested races this year, but historically, sometimes there's just been open seats and there's no one even looking to fill them. So, yeah, again, I think it's a little bit cyclical and it really depends on what's happening in town.
Interesting indeed. Should be an interesting election, interesting debate, interesting interviews. I talked about the budget. What I forgot to ask you about the budget process. You said the Finance Committee is now getting into the weeds, interviewing different department heads and so on. Take us through, I know the town meeting in May is when the budget is ultimately passed. For example, do you even know the final number from the state yet, or it's going to
Well,
be a long time?
yes and no. One of the things that's frustrating in the state is last year we were given our peek at the cherry sheet, and we went to town meeting and said, okay, we're going to get this, and this from the state. In June, the governor changed the budget and pulled the racing revenue, which is 14% of our unrestricted aid, just pulled it and put it back to the state. And that really hurt because that was $134,000 just pulled right out of our budget after town meeting. So we started the fiscal year with a deficit of $134,000. The legislature had plenty of time before our town meeting to have passed a budget and waited till literally the last moment to pull back $134,000.
I guess the next question is, legally, can they do that? I guess the answer is yes.
Oh,
but-
absolutely, yes.
But wasn't there some kind of agreement when Plain Ridge came to town, that the revenue would be so
Sure.
much? I believe there was something similar to that.
marijuana.
With marijuana, and they pulled that as well.
Yes, they did.
So the direct answer to the question, they amend the law.
They amend the law. Well, isn't that convenient?
Yes.
My
So-
goodness.
Yeah.
The only thing that, like Chapter 70 money, which is money that's used at the schools, and Chapter 90 money, which is money used for roads and highways, is a constitutional requirement. So we get that. The level or the rate, for example, of Chapter 90 money, the road money, is now dependent upon the state borrowing money at a favorable rate. That's how they fund Chapter 90 now.
I noticed that the Finance Committee is meeting twice during the first week in March, I believe Wednesday, March 3rd, Thursday, March 4th. I would think they'll be meeting a number of times during March and April.
This is the busy season for them, right? They're going through the, once the budgets get set, that's the off season for them to typically. But yeah, they're have to go through with everyone. They've asked people to make changes, come back, clarifications. So they've got their work cut out for them.
So we asked for a level services budget, but of course that means inflation eats us a little bit. It's not level funding, it's level services.
Right.
So in order for us to bring the budget into line, we will have to make cuts, and we are going to have to make some very painful cuts.
Unbelievable. How about health insurance? How much did that go up this year? Because that's the one item I hear from everyone.
Yes. Our health insurance went up 17.5%. Then we're looking at another double-digit increase this coming year. We're going to have to make some changes. We did put the services out. We are self-insured. As you know, we pool with North Attleboro on our insurance, and it's a really good partnership. We do a lot together between North Attleboro and Plainville. But our loss ratios are staggering and our claims are staggering. But the interesting thing is it's not the use of the hospital or the use of the emergency room, it's the cost of the drugs that are killing us. Our prescription plan is what's driving up our rate.
Wow. I don't know if you saw that clip from the hearing up on Capitol Hill where the head of CVS was there, and AOC said, let me see, CVS owns this, they own that, and it was just one big ball with all the money coming back to CVS. And so,
1972, we changed the law that made health insurance companies go from nonprofit to for-profit. And it worked well, obviously, for many years, but now it's getting a little carried away, where we have the spread between the lowest paid person in CVS to the president of CVS or Aetna or whomever, and the drug companies in particular. I recognize that research and development is expensive, but I think we're into the neighborhood of unrealistic. And the GLP-1 drugs for weight loss are on the chopping block because we're spending over $500,000
Wow.
in that prescription line, and we just can't sustain that.
anything else we haven't covered that you want to cover before we head out?
No, I just think that to that point, just to further it, I mean, just as soon as you think you've got the budget figured out, there is no short of headwinds that come our way. Whether it's big capital projects, changes at the state level, changes in contracts, changes in insurance, things just even 4 or 5 years worth of inflation that is going up on an annual basis more than our levy. To absorb all of that and still be kicking is I think a pretty good thing and a token of the work that we've done. But geez, it takes the wind out of your sails when you see the type of excess that you can put away in the savings account and then finally this all adds up to getting hit in a year like this. Trying to get through it is going to be a challenge. To Mr. Noble's point, I mean, we're trying to keep basically what we've deemed as our new normal, in terms of services in town, without having to go to the town, for any Proposition 2.5 overrides, and that remains the plan for the foreseeable future. But it's a challenge.
Gentlemen, hope you don't see any more snow between now and maybe next December. That wraps up this edition of the Chairman's Report. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back again in a couple of months.